What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be showing you how we're able to render things dynamically in your Voiceflow chatbot by leveraging the custom action block and some JavaScript. Okay, so let me show you why this is important. So here's a chatbot I've built. Let's just start conversation. It's able to recommend outfits and the likes. So let's say I'm asking it, I'm looking for some nice blue jeans. So it takes this query, is it for a man? Yes. Checks the stock inventory in the database, checks items that meet the criteria, then sends them back. Okay, let me show you why this is important. So you see, it checks and gets back some items and sends them back, so you can see the items there. But let me go back to the actual project here. So how we're able to do this is when the user asks a question, we're able to use the set AI step to convert their query into an Airtable formula that can be used to call our Airtable database. So the stock inventory is being stored in the Airtable database. Okay, so now what happens is we use an API step to make an API call to Airtable, filtering by formula, and the formula is the formula we've just generated. Okay, so it runs the database, sends back the items, and the items are stored on this variable recom product. Then what happens is, in this JavaScript step, is we want to restructure the variable recom product so that we can obtain the actual items, then returning those items and putting the items in the formatted recom product variable. Just bear with me, I just want to show you why this is critical. Okay, why being able to render the things dynamically is very critical. So after formatting the products that have been sent back from the database, we go to another JavaScript step to actually obtain the actual price of the first product, the name of the first product, and the image of the first product. Same case for the second product and the third product, you see. Then we're able to obtain also the number of products that have been sent back and saving it to the variable called product count. We move on to the next step here, where we check whether there are actually items that have been returned. So if the name print variable, that's the name of the first product, if it's 0, that means it's empty. That means that there are no products that were sent back. So we send them to this flow where we tell them, sorry, we couldn't find products that meet your criteria, all that. But if the products are found, we go to another step. You see how long this is? Just because we're doing things manually. Okay, so it goes to this second place where we do an if statement to check if the product count is 1, take them through a certain path. If the product count is 2, take them through another path. If the product count is 1, skip this step. Is just a set AI step for generating a response. So it sends back a card with the specific product and the details. If it's 2 products, here you see, so if it's 2 products, from this place it goes to this block where it renders a carousel containing 2 cards. Okay, if it's 3 products, takes it to this carousel which has 3 products. You see, so it's so manual and so tiring. So you can imagine if there were 10 products over here, does it mean now we'd have to render like 10 blocks over here with 10 different carousels? Like, it would be so tiring. Okay, so we need a better way of doing this. So how do we do it? Let me show you. So now I've created a different workflow over here, called it dynamic rendering, so that I can show you the basics of how Voiceflow goes about rendering things into the chatbot. So let's say we put here a button step. Okay, you can start with a button step. Let's give this button first one called yes, another one called no, then the final one, let's call it maybe. Okay, so with this being said, if the person clicks button yes, let's save it to a variable. So let's just quickly create a new variable and call it btn choice. Okay, btn choice. Then go back to the workflow. So if they pick yes, we want to set the variable btn choice to yes. Let's even put yes with a double S. No, same thing. Then maybe, okay. And in all cases, it forwards to a block that just prints out what I've mentioned. So whatever. So just bear with me. I want to show you the basics so that you can be able to understand how Voiceflow works. If you understand the key concepts that underlie the concept, you'll be able to figure things out when different scenarios are presented. So let's run this step, but before we do, let's just Control-Shift-I. Okay, go to the network tab, then you want to enter interact. Search for the interact keyword. Okay, so then run the flow. Then watch over here what happens. So it renders these three buttons. Then you have this network request that's been sent with a status of 200. Click on it, okay? Then go to response, okay? The response tab. So what you want to do, scroll till the top, minimize this state so that you can remain with this part of the object called trace. And a trace, think of a trace like when the chatbot renders, let's say, a text message into the chatbot, something like we have the following items. That's a text message. So that's a trace of type text. If it renders a carousel, that's a trace of type carousel. If it renders these buttons over here, these are traces of type choice, okay? So that's how you think about them. So let's minimize all these traces that are starting first. So minimize that until we remain with this final trace here. So this trace you're seeing is called type choice, okay? And the payload includes some buttons, and each button has, let's say, the name is yes with a label of yes. The next one has a name of no with a label of no, okay? The next one is called maybe with a label of maybe. So this means we can be able to leverage this to be able to render things dynamically. Let me show you how. So take that name of the trace type, it's called choice. Now we'll use a custom actions step. Okay, so bring it here. Give it the name of choice, okay? So it's critical. The name of the custom action should match the name of the trace type, okay? So action. Then in the actions body, we need to use the payload that was in the trace when we're inspecting the nini. So let's do it again. Just to copy the payload so that the payload can be inserted into the action body of the custom action. So here on payload, I'll minimize that, then copy just the payload as is. You can open it up so that you can right click and copy. So now we've copied the payload itself, and in the action body we can put in the payload that we've gotten. Then watch how this works. So let's run just a step from here. You see what happens? It's able to render the buttons, and we haven't used the buttons block. So why is this important? So let me show you how we're able to do this. Let me put in a JavaScript step, okay? Over here. And let's create the variable choice. Okay? So let's create a variable choice that will be inserted into the action body. Then go back to the workflow. So choice is equals to the payload that we've gotten here. Just copy it as is, Control A, Control X, then come back and paste it in here. Okay, let's just identify things properly. Yeah, I think that's okay. Then what we want to do is now we can just do choice. So we want to turn it into a string because the custom action body needs to accept a string. Okay. Then with that being said, we can just insert here in the action body choice. Okay. Then with that being said, let's just run the step again and see whether it works. You see? So it does work. Okay. Let's take it to, let's print out a message like and when we run the block again, by default the custom action block just runs the flow, then prints out the WhatsApp. Okay, but what we want to do is we need for it to pause before, to wait for the user to select a button. Okay, so what we want to do is open the custom action, then toggle this button stop on action. Okay, then let's see. You see, so it doesn't go immediately into printing out WhatsApp. You have to click a button for it to continue, for it to print out WhatsApp. Okay, so now what if you'd want it to, let's say, follow different path depending on the button that has been clicked? So what we can do here is, you see here we have paths. Okay, so let's call the first path, let's say yes. When they say yes, say no. They say maybe, we need a talk step. Just bear with me, I want to show you the basic concepts of how we handle this. So what we do now is in the JavaScript, you see when the first button is called yes, and in the request there's a type here. So what you want to do is the type of the request should match the name of the path in the custom action block. So how we do that, just change this to be named yes. Okay, just as we called it here in the custom action block, we called it yes. Let's just confirm. Yeah, maybe. So now see what will happen. Okay, so yes, no, maybe. Just run the step. So let's say they click yes, it takes them to yes. Let's try it again. If they say no, it takes them to no. So you see now how we're able to render things dynamically and follow different paths based on what the user has selected. But if we want to have all of them go to the same block, but depending on what if they picked, we render something different on the text message. So let's say here we say, and for the BTN choice, so that means before we handle this here, so now to be able to save into the BTN choice, we want to have a JavaScript step just before the custom action block, so that we can be able to render that. So whatever they pick, we want to have that in the payload. Okay, so in the payload here, for the, let's say the first button is yes. Okay, in the payload here we can have the choice they pick as yes, with many yeses, okay. The next one, now what we can do is we can be able to come here. You know what we do, let's just delete this first JavaScript, then just disconnect this, disconnect that, move it out a bit, then whatever they pick leads first to a JavaScript step. Okay, then the JavaScript step is like BTN choice will be equal to dot choice. Okay, so now what that means is we can now lead it to the text message step. So you've selected BTN choice. So in the last event variable is a default variable in Voiceflow that enables you to access whatever payload was in the custom action step that's just happened initially just before this JavaScript block. Okay, and as you can see here in the JavaScript here's the payload, and in the payload there's a key called choice. So now let's run it and see what happens. So let's say they pick no. You've selected no. Try again. Yes. You've selected yes. So you see how we're able to render things differently based on what they have picked. Okay, so this is how you're able to leverage a custom action block and some JavaScript to be able to render things dynamically. And notice we didn't have to explicitly use the buttons block. So this means, like, even here in the buttons you can create the buttons dynamically. So let's say I want to create a number of buttons, so let me loop through that. Let's say I want to create 10 buttons. Okay, so here we want to create the buttons. Okay, and for that let's just take one button to use as an example. So Control X that, then we can remove all these other ones, so that you can be able to push to the buttons dynamically. So specific button, and each button, let's call it btn, but we add it plus the specific index that we are in. So then the type or the button, let's do the same thing. So then the choice, do the same thing. So choice is that. The label, we do the same thing. Okay, so you can see how we can be able to render things dynamically. This can even be you've done an API call, records have been returned, then you want to loop through each of those records and create a button for each of those records dynamically. Okay, so now that we have pushed to the choice button, you can go ahead and just run the step and see what happens. So you see btn 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I pick btn 7, let's see, you've selected btn 7. You see how powerful this is? It's quite powerful. So now having this in mind, now that you have the basics in mind of how you can render these things dynamically, let's be able to replicate this functionality for the example we had here for the recommending of the products. So we call the Airtable database, get back products that meet the customer's requirements, then render the carousel blocks dynamically. Okay, so for that, let's just run the chatbot again. Okay, Control Shift I to ensure that the inspect tab is up and running. Then ensure you're filtering the requests on the interact keyword. Okay, so now let's run the test. Okay, quickly. Point is for you to get the concept. So is it for man? Yes. So you want to get the trace type and the payload. Okay, so that we can work with that. So it returns some carousel. You can see that there. Then so let's go to this final one. Click on it. Go to the response. Scroll till the top. Then you want to minimize the state. That's not really important to us at the moment. Then minimize these traces until we see the carousel. Okay. There you have it. So you're seeing it here. So the trace is of type carousel and the payload is that. So let's minimize this payload so we can copy the payload as is. So select that, open it up, then just right click and copy. So with that being said, we've known that the trace type is carousel. So now we can be able to render this dynamically using the custom action. So close the inspect tab, exit that. Then let's go to where the API call is being made. So I think it's here. Let's disconnect this step from here so that we can do it in a different way. So take this still up there, just want to separate it. Then using the custom actions, where is it? Have it there. The name of the custom action, as we said, matches the name of the trace type, so carousel. Then the action body, let's just paste in the payload. Okay, add payload. Okay, so with that being said, we can just run the step from here to see what it renders. There you have it. So you can see it's rendering the carousel as meant to. Okay, so now what we want is to have a JavaScript step before it. Let's insert it before the custom action. Then let's create a variable called carousel. So this will be the one we'll put into the payload. I've already done that, so on your side just click there, go to variables, create new variable, and I call it carousel. But since it exists, this won't work. Okay, so you see it already exists. Let me go back to my workflow. So in the JavaScript step here, you can just say carousel is equals to something, the payload. So let's go back to custom action, the body, Control A, Control X, go back to the JavaScript, paste in the payload there. Then I want to identify it properly, so yeah, that's proper. Then carousel. Now with that being said, you can just go back to the custom action here. Then in the action body, let's put in the variable carousel, close that, then run it again. You see how it works. Also here in the JavaScript here, I've misspelled json.stringify. It's meant to be stringify. Okay, so now let's run it again. See, now that's working. Okay, so now with that being said, we want to ensure that the carousel here in the JavaScript has the details that have been brought back from the API call. So for that, let's just minimize all this, copy that as is, so Control X. So we just need one of the cards in the carousel, then we can delete the rest. Okay, because the rest will be rendered dynamically. So minimize all that, copy, backspace. Okay, now with that being said, we can now do, if you remember, recon products. Let me just show you. Is what's being returned from the API call here. So we save it to recon products. Okay, but before we do that, we want to see how the structure of the recon products that are sent back from the API call. So for that, let me just disconnect this. I want to take you step by step so that you understand why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So let's do a JavaScript step here, just to stringify recon products. Then we can just print it out in the chart. Okay, so talk step text, then let's just print it out here, recon products. There we can exit that, run the step again. Okay, and have your variables out here. You can easily get that by just putting your cursor till the end, click, then click. Okay, this will pop out, then you can see your variables as they change. Okay, so this is meant to start from the beginning. Let's take it to the start, run it from there. To take it to the start, just press S. Okay, that's a shortcut. I'm Zawadi, so I'm looking. Okay, is it for a man? Yes. So you're seeing the variables as they change here. So it sends them back over there. You can see it here. But since here it looks a bit cluttered, I can simply just get it from the variables tab here. So scroll to the bottom, I see Recom products, enter there, Control A, Control C. Then I want to open Notepad just to see it clearly, okay? So Notepad opened, paste it in there. So this is what is being returned, and I'll reference this when I'm formatting the JavaScript, okay? So you can see here each product and the necessary details. So let's now go back to our Voiceflow. Exit that. That being said, I can just delete these two, then send it back to the custom app, the block over here, up here. Then in the JavaScript, we want to render the cards as they come, okay? So here I made the mistake of deleting all of them and not copying it somewhere, so I'll just quickly get the payload through the inspect tab, just quickly. Yeah, so I've gotten the payload. Then I'll just minimize everything. So as we mentioned, we just want to get the first card, so Control X that, then delete the rest of them. Okay, so now with that being said, we can just come here. So for let I is equal to 0, as long as I is less than the recommended product's length, I plus plus. Then we want to do carousel dot cards dot push a single card. Okay, so I've pasted in the card that we had copied. Then here in the description, we don't really need the slate, so you can delete that. Okay, you can just remain with the text. So here in the title, okay, so first the ID, I want the ID to be just the index, so the ID of the carousel, so I put I there. Then the title, so I just want to remove that because we're putting it dynamically. So Recom products I, okay, so now we've entered into that specific product. I can go to my notepad to see how it's structured. So once I've entered into the product, there's an ID, then there's a created time, then there's a fields, okay, and here in the fields is where we have everything we need. So let's do that. So recommended I dot fields. Then we want to, in the fields, we have the gender, the master category, apparel, all that. But what we want is the name of the product. So that's here in product name. So what you can do is just copy that, entirety of that, then go back here. Just want to access the product name. Then the price, do the same thing. So let's just copy all this. Copy, Control C. Then the price, let's remove that and do a plus that. Okay, but instead of product name, it's called price. Okay, paste that in there. Then in the image URL, let's remove all that. Okay, copy this. Paste it in there. Instead of price, it's called, let's see where's the image URL here. So it's called image. Okay. Then that being said, the buttons remain the same. So visit, product, or purchase. Okay. Now, yeah, that's it. So now let's run the step. Let's just connect a path here just to follow it up. So just saying, hey. I come back here, let me just disconnect this. I reconnected it just to access the payload, but you can use it back. Okay, now let's press S, go back to the start the test from there, and let's see what happens. Is it for man? Yes. Let's see what it gets for us. You see? There you have it. So it's returned some nice 2 green shots with the name of the shot, the price, and those buttons. And this we have rendered dynamically. So it doesn't matter as many products as you can be able to get. You can be able to do all that just using the JavaScript step and the custom action. And see how many blocks of Voiceflow blocks we have been able to save. All this, let me just show you. Let's just zoom out. You see, all this is absurd. Like how powerful that is. We have saved on all this unnecessary blocks. All that we've shrunk all that down to just 2 blocks. Isn't that fascinating? Just 2 blocks by using the custom action step. So it's quite powerful. You can be able to leverage that and build more powerful chatbots. Anyways, that's it from me. If you want to work with our team, you can be able to click the link in the description and be able to work with you to build a similar kind of chatbot, or whatever chatbot you'd want to be implemented into your business. Whether it's a chatbot, whether it's voice bots, any kind of AI systems we can build for you. So click the link in the description, and can't wait to work with you. Till next time, stay servy. Peace.